Hey guys, I'm going to be taking a look at a couple of c-betting spots today, and we're going to be discussing some of the factors that you're going to want to consider when you have to decide whether or not you're going to c-bet. Before I get started, let me explain the stats that I have set up here in my HUD. The first two stats are VPIP and PFR. The two stats on the next line in blue are c-bet and fold to c-bet. And those are really the only stats we'll be using today, so you can ignore all the other stats. This first hand here happens at a 25 NL table, where I have ace-jack and the hijack, and I make a standard open, and we get called by the big blind, who's a 48-14 fish. This is exactly the kind of action that we want when we have, when we have any hand, really, to get called by a fish. And so we see a flop here, and he checks to us. Now we have to take a look at this flop, take a look at the player, take a look at our hand, and see if we should c-bet or not. The first thing to realize is that this flop hits the range of a fish, a cold calling fish, pretty well. He's going to have a lot of one pair. He's going to have a lot of gut shots and overcards. He's going to have pair plus, gut shot. He'll have a few flush draws. So this is the kind of flop where he's going to be continuing a lot. The second thing we have to realize is that we really can't hit anything really good. We don't have backdoor draws. We don't have any draws really, except we have the backdoor draw to a straight. But we don't have any backdoor flush draw. We don't have a gut shot or anything. And the third thing we want to look at is the tendencies of our opponent. As we can see here by looking at his fold to c-bet stat, it's only 45%. And on a flop like this, it's going to actually in practice be lower because this is a flop that hits his range pretty hard. If we look at the pop-up stats here, we see that he actually raises c-bets. Although it's a small sample, we've seen him raise a c-bet twice in 11 hands. So he's definitely kind of a semi-aggro fish post-flop. And so, taking all of those three things into consideration, this is a pretty poor spot for a c-bet. He's not going to be folding enough, and we're not going to have enough good turns that allow us to double barrel. And against this type of player, we might not even want to be double barreling, draws or anything on the turn anyway. So all things considered, I think this is a hand where we're much better off checking back and just hoping to either get to showdown or maybe we can hit a pair on the turn and get some value that way. The next hand we're going to be looking at, we have ace-queen in early position. This is a 50 NL table. And so we make a standard open, we get called. Now let's take a look at this flop. This flop is pretty bad for us as well. It makes a lot of draws possible. Flush draws, straight draws, gut shot plus overcards. And similarly, our hand isn't very good. We don't have backdoor outs. We don't have a gut shot. We don't have a flush draw or anything. But the difference between this hand and the previous one is our opponent's tendencies. If we look at our opponent here, he looks like kind of a tight, taggy kind of a reggish player, and he is able to fold to c-bets. In fact, he folds to c-bets 63% of the time, and that's over a pretty decent sample size. I think a player like this, he'll fold out all his middle pairs. He'll fold out all his unpaired, like if he was calling with ace-queen or ace-jack, or even sometimes ace-king. He might fold those to our c-bet. So here I think we do have a very good opportunity to c-bet, and I think we should make the most of it and go ahead and c-bet here. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys have found this interesting.